The family was so poor that it could only afford to send one person to school. You two draw lots to decide, Father said, holding two wooden sticks in his hand, with an expression of apparent distress on his face. Whoever draws the shorter stick will continue with their studies. Ruyan, as the younger sister, you can draw first. At this familiar scene, I realized that I had been reborn. I stared intently at the wooden sticks, and various fragments flashed rapidly through my mind. The fear when my elder sister pushed me down, and the pain when I fell to my death. However, my thoughts soon drifted back to that fateful choice in my previous life. In my previous life, I chose the wooden stick on the right, and from then on, I had no chance to pursue further education. Clearly, my academic performance was much better than my elder sister's. I had already been admitted to the key high school with the highest admission rate in the city, while my elder sister's grades, even if she worked extremely hard in high school, would at most enable her to enter a second-tier university. Given the family's poverty, having me go to school would be the most beneficial for the entire family. Nevertheless, my parents insistently chose to decide by drawing lots. Because my parents favored my elder sister more, I had always been aware of this. So, I was content just to have the chance to draw lots. Since childhood, they would buy new clothes for my elder sister, but never for me. Every time, they would say that my elder sister's clothes had become too small, and they would fit me just right, and buying clothes for me would be a waste of money. As the second born in the family and a girl, I had always endured the ill treatment from my family. My elder sister was my parents' first child, the crystallization of their love, so they loved her. As for me, at that time, my grandmother wanted a grandson, and my parents took the risk of having a second child. But ultimately, a girl was born. My birth caused the family to lose several thousand yuan all at once. My grandmother disliked me very much, and as a result, she treated my mother coldly. So after giving birth to me, my mother suffered a great deal during the confinement period. She dared not resent my grandmother or my father. She could only resent me. She thought that everything was my fault, that I blocked the way for their son to come, and that I was a bane. My mother wanted to name me Luyu, meaning extra person. My grandmother said to name me Lu Yao, hoping that I would die in infancy. Finally, it was my father who, fearing being laughed at by the villagers, changed my name to Luyu, while my elder sister's name was Lu Ruyan, because they hoped that my elder sister's future would be smooth and full of opportunities, leading straight to success. In my previous life, after the high school entrance examination, I went to work in a clothing factory with people from the same village. At the age of 15, many regular factories refused to hire me, and the salary was pitifully low. I often had to work night shifts and work at least 12 hours a day. Each month, I had to send more than half of my earned salary back home for my elder sister's education. When I first arrived at the factory in the first month, I didn't even have the money to buy a quilt. My parents only paid for my transportation fare and gave me no other money. Fortunately, the summer in the south was very hot, and I barely managed to hold on until payday. Later, when I got together with the factory manager's son, my life gradually started to improve. Subsequently, taking advantage of the boom in e-commerce, the factory earned tens of millions, and I suddenly became a wealthy wife. While my elder sister, although she was finally admitted to a second-tier university, as life gradually got better, there were more and more college students. The moment my elder sister was admitted to university was the most glorious moment in her entire previous life. By the time she graduated, she found that it was difficult to find a job, and the salary was not high. Later, my elder sister married her college boyfriend, and the two of them worked in a small county town in their southern hometown. Together, they earned a total of over 5,000 yuan a month. And as the saying goes, poor couples have many quarrels. The conflicts between the two of them became more and more frequent. Every time I went home, I drove a luxury car and carried large bags of gifts, and my elder sister's heart gradually became distorted. After her husband betrayed her, she finally exploded. She blamed everything on me. When my elder sister pushed me down, her face was completely distorted. Why are you so rich? A person who didn't even go to school. Why do you live a more glorious life than me? In a panic, I instinctively pulled her down with me, and the two of us fell off the cliff together. Gradually, I pulled my thoughts back. My eyes were fixed firmly on the wooden stick on the left. In my previous life, I chose the stick on the right, and didn't get to go to school. This life, I will choose the one on the left. This time, I'm surely the one who will get to go to school. Suppressing the excitement in my heart, I quickly pulled out the wooden stick on the left and said excitedly, "Dad, my stick is short." Before I could finish my words, Dad opened his palm. But the result once again took me by surprise. The wooden stick in Dad's hand was visibly shorter than the one in mine. His tone was just like in my previous life. Xiaoyu, it seems you're unlucky. You picked the longer one. The chance to study has to go to your elder sister. In the future, you work hard and earn tuition for your elder sister. When your elder sister makes it big in the future, she can still help you out. How could this be? I took the 2 sticks in disbelief. In my previous life, the one I chose on the right was long. This life, the one I chose on the left is still long. I stared at the 2 wooden sticks for several minutes, before finally understanding everything. Anger and grievance instantly spread throughout my chest. No wonder they insisted that I choose first. It turned out they had already made their choice. No matter what I chose, my elder sister would always be the one to go to school, because they could break the longer stick at any time, just like breaking my wings, so that I could never fly out of their control. They hypocritically fabricated an ostensibly equal choice, compelling me to swallow my grievances, and work to support my elder sister's education. While they were draining my lifeblood, they also ridiculed my supposed bad luck. In my previous life, no matter how arduous it was, I never blamed them for this matter, because it was my own lottery result. I didn't curse my fate. Instead, I strived with all my might. However, now, after hearing my father announce this outcome, I noticed that my mother visibly relaxed, and the 2 of them exchanged a smile, their eyes brimming with the smugness of having successfully schemed. It was only because I was too young in my previous life that I failed to see through it. Suddenly, I felt that nothing really mattered. If I couldn't go to school, so be it. After all, with the experiences of my previous life, it would be easy for me to earn money in this life. But before I could even consent to accept all this, my elder sister rushed forward like a madwoman to intercede. Let Luya go to school. Let her go to work. In my elder sister's eyes, there was an uncontrollable delight and excitement. Her hands clutched my father's arm so tightly that his clothes were almost torn. Nonsense. Mother scolded my elder sister, frowning with a look of displeasure, and desperately giving her meaningful glances. What kind of future can you have without an education? Without going to school, you can only work in a factory and earn a meager living. You'll never amount to anything in your life. I smiled bitterly. So mother knew all along. But in my previous life, when I was chosen to go to work, they only said, Xiaoyu, your elder sister has it tough studying. It's great that you can earn money outside. My elder sister looked at mother disapprovingly. Her gaze swept over me, and a glimmer of avarice shone in her eyes. Studying isn't of much use. There are so many college students nowadays. They're not worth much anymore. It's better to go out and work early. Then, if you marry a wealthy man, a woman's future ultimately depends on her marriage. If I go out to work, with my looks, maybe I'll end up with the boss's son. Then I'll be the boss's wife. As soon as Lu Rian said this, I knew she had also been reborn. However, these words didn't seem like something a teenage girl could come up with at all. Father couldn't help but frown. What do you know at your age? Mother continued to persuade. Rian, you can't say that. There's a huge difference between having an education and not having one. With a degree, you can marry into a city family, and your in-laws will think highly of you. The more she spoke, the more I felt it was ironic. By the time you finish college, you'll be old. Rich people like young girls, Zhao Lu retorted anxiously. My mother seemed to think there was some truth to what she said, but she still thought Lu Rian was being too impulsive. Are you really determined not to study? Yes, Lu Rian replied firmly. She walked up to me and gave me a smirk. All right, since you don't want to study, you 2 sisters might as well go work in the factory together. You can keep each other company. Mother made the decision. Why? I finally couldn't sit still. When my elder sister was studying, I couldn't. Now that she didn't want to study, I still couldn't. In the end, they just didn't want to spend any more money on me. I wanted to argue, but Lu Rian resolved the issue for me directly. She said earnestly, Sister, you should still go to school. Our family has to produce a college student, right? Otherwise, the villagers will definitely laugh at us. At Lu Rian's suggestion, our parents finally agreed that I could continue my studies. However, her situation was completely different from mine in my previous life. When I left home in my previous life, they said, don't cause trouble outside. Be patient in everything. Don't waste money. Send back your salary as soon as you get it. But for Zhao Lu, my parents gave her several thousand yuan, worrying that she wouldn't get used to life in a foreign place. Take the money. Buy whatever you lack. Don't worry about home. Spend your own earned money on whatever you want. Then they turned to look at me. Your elder sister gave you the chance to study. When you get into college in the future, never forget your elder sister. She's your benefactor. I remained silent. I had already given up on such biased parents. In this life, I wouldn't spend a single cent on them. Okay, got it, Lu Rian said impatiently. The next day, under the guidance of someone from the same village, Lu Rian set off to work in a factory in the south. Before leaving, she suddenly came up to me and whispered, This life, it's my turn to be the rich wife. I pretended not to understand what she was saying, and fawned on her with a submissive look. Sister, you'll definitely become a rich wife. Lu Rian saw nothing amiss in my expression, and snorted disdainfully before leaving. But within 3 months, Lu Rian ran back again. As soon as she returned, she blocked me at the school gate, and questioned me viciously. When did you meet Luo Cheng? Luo Cheng was my husband in my previous life, the one who gave me help and patience. In my previous life, I didn't meet him until I was 19. At this time he was still studying abroad. I couldn't help but sneer in my heart. Lu Rian really wasn't very smart. It took her 3 months to figure this out. I pretended to be clueless and asked her in confusion. Who's Luo Qing? There's no one surnamed Luo in our class. Don't play dumb with me. Lu Yan didn't believe me at all. She sized me up. She was wearing a trendy outfit and had smoky makeup on her face, which was the most fashionable look at the moment. I really don't know what you're talking about. Sister, did you encounter something evil? She stared at me for several minutes. Seeing that she couldn't get anything out of me, she finally gave up. Just then the school was on vacation, and we went home together. As soon as we got home, my sister called out Mom, and my mother rushed over quickly. Rian, why are you back? She looked pleasantly surprised and fussed over her for a long time, afraid that her elder sister had suffered outside. After learning that my elder sister just wanted to come home, she finally relaxed. You silly girl, you should have informed us in advance that you were coming home, so I could prepare your favorite food in advance. I chuckled softly and silently started picking vegetables aside. The school vacation time was fixed once every half month, but every time I came back from vacation, there was never any food waiting for me at home. Instead, I always had to wash clothes and cook for them. She touched my elder sister's clothes with her hands, her eyes full of tenderness. This dress feels really nice. It looks good on you too. My daughter has a great sense of style. I just scoffed in my heart. In my previous life, when I went home for the new year wearing a new outfit, they made sarcastic remarks, saying I didn't know how to be thrifty, that they were living frugally at home, while I was spending money recklessly outside, only caring about my own enjoyment. In the end, my new clothes were forcefully taken away by my mother and given to my elder sister. Now my mother looked at me with disgust in her eyes. You're dressed like a fugitive today. I don't know who you take after. I looked at the old clothes on me, which were all my elder sister's cast-offs, washed until they were pale. Seeing that I didn't respond, she continued to nag. You've studied yourself into a stupor. You're like a mute gourd every day. I still didn't say anything. It wasn't that I didn't want to resist. I just wanted to cut off my feelings of heartache for my parents. This wasn't something that could be easily achieved, because I couldn't harden my heart. Even though I knew clearly that they didn't love me, sometimes I still felt sorry for them when they had a tough time. Only by consuming this feeling of heartache for them could I truly let go. My elder sister was quite satisfied with this. She looked at my mother with a slightly embarrassed expression. Mom, I want to come back and study. I knew Lu Rian wasn't someone who could endure hardship. Otherwise, she wouldn't have returned to the small county with her husband right after graduating from college. The salary in the small county was not high, but the work was indeed easy. People who had such a job wouldn't be able to adapt to the 2-shift work intensity in a factory. That she could last 3 months was already beyond my expectations. My mother was first happy, then she said with some difficulty, but the family can't afford to support both of you. Lu Rian turned her gaze on me. I knew she was plotting against me again, but now, I wasn't someone the family could just give up on. Right after entering school, I participated in a city-level composition competition, and won a 3,000 yuan bonus. I gave every cent of it to them. The teachers also told them that I had a great future ahead of me, and that it was only a matter of time before I helped the family out of their Kenjing. The school also said that there would be many such competitions in the future. They were reluctant to give up, because I was good at studying. It was also a matter of pride for them to say that I was a good student, and I could even earn money for them. In those days, a factory girl's monthly salary at most was around 1,500 yuan. There were so many good students in number 1 middle school. My sister might not necessarily be able to get into a good school in the future. It would be better for her to go out and work now. Why don't you let my sister go out to work with me? I'm all alone outside without anyone to take care of me and always get bullied, Lu Rian said, pretending to cry and lying in my mother's arms. This time my mother pushed her away. Rian, your sister still needs to study. Working outside, you can earn 1,500 yuan a month. If she goes out to work early, she can earn nearly 20,000 yuan for the family in a year. My mother was indeed a bit tempted. She looked at Lu Rian expectantly and blurted out, Really, Rian? Then how much money have you saved? Lu Rian's face suddenly turned pale. She stammered, rubbing her hands, and dared not answer this question. The prices in the south are high, and the expenses are big. I didn't save any money. My mother pursed her lips, but didn't say anything. Forget it. As long as your salary can support yourself, that's fine. I don't expect you to save much money now, but the few thousand yuan we gave you when you left last time, bring it back first. Anyway, you can get your salary now. Mom wants to renovate the house. Lu Rian's face turned even paler, and her voice was so low that it was almost inaudible. I spent that money too. What? My mother's voice was sharp and ear-piercing. She stood up from the chair all of a sudden, and looked at Zhao Lu in disbelief. 1,500 yuan a month, 4,500 yuan in 3 months. Before you left, your father and I gave you almost 5,000 yuan. In just 3 months, you spent all that money. I saw her hands were shaking. Lu Rian lowered her head almost to her stomach, letting my mother scold her. You spent 10,000 yuan all at once. Mom, you don't know how high the expenses are outside. And when I first went there, I didn't know anyone and was unfamiliar with the place. That's why I needed my sister to go with me. Now that I'm familiar with the place, we can save a lot of our salaries, Lu Rian said. My mother sighed. Xiaoyu is doing very well in her studies now. Just from her studies, she's already earned 3,000 yuan for the family. If she continues to study, She'll earn even more money in the future. If you really want to continue your studies, wait until next year. You definitely won't be able to keep up with the study progress this year. By next year, you'll have saved some money, and the family's finances will be more comfortable. Then it will be just right for you to go back to school. My mother still hoped that Lu Ruyan would continue her studies. She urged Lu Ruyan, don't forget your textbooks while you're working. In the end, Lu Ruyan still had to go back to work in the factory. There was no way around it. This was her own choice. When she left home again, she glared at me fiercely as if all the hardships she was suffering now were my fault. What's so great about being good at studying? In the future, college students' salaries won't even be as much as those of farmers. Looking at her departing back, I secretly made a decision in my mind. My elder sister had always regarded me as her rival, in my previous life and in this life. As long as my parents favored her, even if I succeeded in the future, my elder sister still wouldn't let me go. In my previous life, when my elder sister got married, my mother insisted that I give a 20,000 yuan red envelope. She said that as the younger sister of the bride, only in this way could my elder sister have confidence in her husband's family. When I got married, my elder sister didn't give me a red envelope or a gift. There was nothing I could do. I got married early, and they said that unmarried people didn't need to give wedding gifts. Later, when my elder sister's child was born, my mother insisted that I buy a large gold bracelet for both my elder sister and my nephew. Every time there was something going on in my elder sister's family, my mother would find various excuses to ask me for money. But when it came to me, my mother would say, she's your elder sister. Why do you care so much about her? You're in a better financial situation. Isn't it only right that you give more money to your elder sister? If my elder sister didn't regard me as her rival, didn't take advantage of me, and then try to harm me, I wouldn't mind spending some money on her at all. However, in her eyes, I seemed to be the one who had stolen her chance at success. She had always considered me as her enemy. Since that was the case, I decided to cut off her source of confidence. The only thing she could rely on was our parents' favoritism. But what if our parents no longer favored her? As soon as my elder sister left, I also packed my things and prepared to leave. Before I left, I asked my mother for my living expenses. She still looked as if I was taking a piece of her flesh, saying, you can eat less at school. Just order one dish and spend money sparingly. In fact, I wasn't short of money. With the experiences of my previous life, it was quite easy for me to earn money now. By writing articles and reselling some items, altogether, I now had a savings of nearly 10,000 yuan. But why shouldn't I ask for the living expenses that were rightfully mine? They were my parents, and it was their responsibility to support me. If I felt sorry for them and saved money, the money would only flow to others who were not short of it. I told my mother that I needed to buy a gift for my classmate whose family had just welcomed a new baby brother. Since I had a good relationship with my classmate, I wanted to buy a small toy for his little brother. My mother's eyes lit up instantly, but her tone was disdainful as she said, your classmate's mother is almost 40 years old. Isn't she ashamed to have a baby at this age? It's not that unusual. At first, I also thought it was strange, but my classmate told me that there are many pregnant women in the hospital who are even older than his mother. I replied. My mother listened carefully to my words and fell into deep thought. Because of her preoccupation, my mother even gave me an extra 10 yuan when she handed me the money. All I needed to do next was to wait patiently. Over the years, the only regret my parents had was that they didn't have a son to carry on the family line. Sure enough, when I went home during the winter vacation, I noticed that my mother started to move around cautiously, and my father took the initiative to do the physical work. For once, the two of them looked like a harmonious couple. They didn't tell me that my mother was pregnant, and I pretended not to know anything either. I just devoted myself to studying. Studying was easier for me in this life, compared to my previous life. Although I had been away from studying for a long time, once I became enlightened, learning became much simpler. My elder sister came back during the spring festival. She was wearing a brand new white cotton padded jacket, black silk leggings and knee-high boots, which made her look out of place in our village. As soon as she entered the house, she started complaining about how cold it was at home, and insisted on having an air conditioner installed. Liangqing is so warm. It's too cold here. I'll pay for the air conditioner, okay? When my mother heard this, her eyes rolled, and she quickly agreed. Lu Rian looked at me triumphantly, as if to say, see, mom and dad still dote on me. She was so naive. The reason why my mother agreed to install the air conditioner was for the baby in her belly. I didn't respond, and continued to act like a silent bookworm. After Lu Rian came back home, she wandered around the village, showing off to everyone. In just one afternoon, the whole village knew that she was living a good life now. When she came back home for dinner, there were only cold leftovers. Lu Rian went crazy. This was the first time she had seen leftovers. In the past, they would always wait for her to come back before cooking, so that she could have hot food. But now, since my mother had another beloved child in her belly, their precious baby was hungry, and naturally, they wouldn't wait for Lu Rian. It was rather ridiculous. The favoritism that I have been jealous of for so many years was so easily taken away by a child who hadn't even been born yet. I had thought that this would at least happen after the child was born. For a moment, I felt a bit sorry for Lu Rian. However, I wouldn't be soft-hearted towards this family anymore. In the future, they could quarrel as much as they liked, and it would have nothing to do with me. Lu Rian coquettishly asked my mother to get up and cook for her. But now was a crucial period for my mother to protect the pregnancy, and my father didn't dare to let my mother be too tired. As a result, Lu Rian got a scolding. She was so angry that she even threw a stool. She kicked my door, hoping that I would cook for her. I'm not your maid. Do you really think you're a young lady? In the end, she had to heat up the food herself. Her white clothes were splashed with oil, and it was a waste of the money she spent on them. This spring festival could be said to be the most unpleasant one Lu Rian had ever had in all these years. On the 6th day of the first lunar month, she insisted on leaving. When she was about to leave, my mother asked her for money. You spend money recklessly. Give the money to me, Mom. I'll save it for you and give it back to you whenever you need it. Lu Rian didn't want to give the money. In just a few months, she had gotten used to spending money freely. In her previous life, she got married right after graduation, and then dealt with the daily issue of firewood, rice, oil and salt. She had never spent money so freely before. I could tell that she was quite satisfied with her current life. After all, she looked much better than in her previous life. Since she refused to give the money, my mother couldn't fall out with her either, and could only keep persuading her. You said you wanted to come back and study, right? Mom will save the money for your studies. When the time comes, you can spend the money however you like for your education. For some reason, Lu Rian actually took out 2,000 yuan. When she left, she looked at me triumphantly again. You can be proud now, but you won't be able to laugh when you come back next time. Later, my mother told me that she had asked someone to do some divination, and it turned out that it was indeed a boy. From then on, she walked around with a sense of pride. Even though she was heavily pregnant, she liked to wander around everywhere. It seemed that in this way, she could wash away all the grievances she had suffered over the years. My mother warned me not to tell my elder sister about her pregnancy. I didn't plan to do so anyway. As the school was about to start, Lu Rian called home and asked the family to arrange for her enrollment. My mother readily agreed, and also asked her to send some more money. My younger brother was born and was placed in the room where Lu Rian had insisted on installing the air conditioner. He was sleeping soundly. Aren't you afraid that Rian will make a scene when she comes back? My father asked worriedly. My mother didn't care at all. What's there to make a scene about? This is her own younger brother. How could a girl be jealous of a boy? It was so ridiculous. The one who was once held in the palm of their hands, and they were afraid of hurting, was now called a girl. At the end of August, Lu Rian finally came back home, dragging her heavily laden luggage. But when she saw the baby in her beloved mother's arms, she was stunned for a moment. She rushed over to take a look, and then broke down completely. Why didn't you tell me that you had a younger brother? Why should we tell you? This is between me and your mother. Lu Rian couldn't find a retort, but she knew clearly that her favoritism was about to disappear. Then she went crazy, insisting on going to school and wanting to be in the same school as me. Otherwise, she threatened to drop the baby. My mother slapped her on the spot. In the end, because they were worried that Lu Rian might really harm the baby, they reluctantly sent her to our school, in the same grade as me, but in a different class. I was in the top class, rocket class, and all I did every day was study. After Lu Rian enrolled, she caused quite a stir in the school. She had some savings and knew how to dress up, so she became a well-known figure in the school as soon as she transferred. However, no one in our rocket class paid attention to these things. We were all busy participating in competitions and dealing with the matters related to being recommended for admission to universities. In the second semester of our sophomore year in high school, nearly half of the students in our class were recommended for admission, and I was one of them. When everyone else chose to go to Beijing, I didn't hesitate to choose Yangcheng, a coastal city with the most developed economy in the country. I made this choice not only because I would meet the person I loved there, but also because I could start my plan to make money there. Although Beijing had better educational resources, it was far less developed economically than Yangcheng. My goal wasn't in academics. The era of online shopping had already arrived, but most ordinary people hadn't yet realized how popular it would become. In order not to affect Lu Rian's study mentality, I discussed with the head teacher and asked the school not to publicize the news of my being recommended for admission. It wasn't that I was afraid she wouldn't do well in the exams. I was just worried that if she knew I was recommended, she might try to harm me again. After receiving the admission notice, I told my parents that I didn't want to go to school anymore, and they didn't stop me. Now all their attention was on my younger brother. They actually wished that both Lu Rian and I would stop studying and go out to work. When Lu Rian learned that I was going to work, she was very nervous. Which factory are you going to work in? You mustn't go to the factory where I worked before. The boss there likes to deduct wages. Lu Rian tried her best to tell me all the disadvantages of that factory. I looked at her gratefully and assured her repeatedly that I wouldn't go to that factory. Only then did she feel relieved and let me go. She even used her last bit of savings to buy me a second-hand mobile phone and told me to contact her if anything happened, especially when it came to having a boyfriend. She said she would help me make a decision so that I wouldn't be deceived. During that summer vacation, I registered my first online store. I selected goods from the factory, took photos, and shipped the products all by myself. At the beginning, there weren't many orders, so I went out to set up stalls everywhere. At that time, the physical stores were still more popular than online shopping, but the trend of online shopping had already taken root in the coastal cities. As time went by, the real economy would only become more and more depressed. During the first shopping festival after the university started, my online store became very popular. At that time, Lu Rian called and asked me again if I knew Luocheng. I was so busy that I didn't have a moment to spare. I had hired many student part-timers to help with packaging. I don't know Luo Chung. Just then, my friend called me to hurry up and help with the packaging. Lu Ruyan thought I was working in a factory and pretended to be concerned as she asked about my work. When she heard that I was busy for 16 hours a day and even had to squeeze in time for sleep, she let out a long sigh of relief and hung up the phone. I continued to pack and ship the goods. During this shopping festival, I earned 1 million yuan. This was just my first 1 million yuan. In the future, I would earn my first 10 million yuan and even 100 million yuan. I hoped that when I met Luo Chung, we would be equal. He was a really nice person. He was very kind and gentle to me, but when I was with him, I had always felt inferior. In my previous life, I didn't have a good education, and my family background was poor. Apart from my appearance, I didn't have anything outstanding, and there were so many beautiful people. He was the son of the factory owner, and had studied abroad. I was just a factory girl. How could I deserve to be with him? After we got together, I was always worried that he would break up with me. At first, his parents didn't approve of our relationship either. They even gently persuaded me to resign. But I was honest, hard-working, and didn't cause any trouble in the factory. Every time they said something, they couldn't bear to let me leave. In the end, I tried my best to improve myself. After I helped the factory complete a foreign trade order, they finally agreed. They said that they saw the same spirit of hard work in me as they had when they were young. I wasn't the kind of woman who just waited to enjoy the good life without working hard. With me in the family, it wouldn't decline. My mother asked me for money every month. If I was even one day late, she would call me repeatedly. I had thought about blocking their numbers, but if I pushed them too hard, they might come to me and find out my real situation. Then I would have to spend even more money. So I could only spend 200 yuan each month to buy some peace. Even if I cut off all ties with them, legally, I still had the obligation to support them. So instead of causing all these problems, I would rather spend a small amount of money to avoid trouble. During the spring festival, I didn't go home. I heard that Lu Ruyan was having a hard time now. Every time she went home during the holidays, she had to help take care of her younger brother, and was full of resentment. Later, when it came to the college entrance examination, Lu Ruyan scored less than 300 points. It was very difficult for her to get into a junior college. Naturally, the family wouldn't spend money to let her continue studying. She told me that she was also going to Yangcheng to work. I asked her which factory she was working in, but she refused to tell me. Of course, I knew exactly which factory she would go to. Just to give her a little scare, I walked around the snack street near that factory several times. When I ran into Lu Ruyan, she looked at me with full of caution, and lied that she was just hanging out with friends there. I didn't expose her. In that year, I earned 5 million yuan. Meanwhile, Zhao Lu was still working in the factory. I heard that she would just look around aimlessly during work, and her work efficiency was extremely low. The boss had tried to dismiss her several times. She had to lower her salary, and assured the boss repeatedly that she would work hard, barely managing to stay in the factory. I was actually quite puzzled. She too had been reborn. Why did she have to wait for Luo Chung? She clearly had numerous opportunities to become wealthy herself, yet she stubbornly insisted on waiting for a rich man to come and rescue her. Did she truly fall in love with Luo Chung? Was he the only one for her? I attempted to persuade her to start a small business on several occasions, but she cursed at me through gritted teeth, accusing me of not wanting her to live a good life, and telling me to leave her alone in the future. When I was 19 years old, Luo Chung finally showed up. Lu Ruyan called me excitedly again. Her voice on the phone sounded somewhat frantic, as if she had just won the lottery. I'm going to be rich. I'm finally going to be rich. She couldn't wait to announce her so-called success to me. However, I had no idea what exactly she considered to be her success. As far as I knew, she had only met Luo Chung a few times, and hadn't even had a proper conversation with him. Luo Chung didn't have the slightest impression of her either. As for how I knew all this, ever since my online store had become increasingly prosperous, I started to cooperate directly with factories, and the factory owned by Luo Cheng's family was one of the suppliers for my store. We had privately dined together several times. He wanted to pursue me, and said that he had fallen in love with me at first sight. In this life, I no longer had the inferiority complex, and the tendency to run away as I did in my previous life. Our dates in this life were much more relaxed and harmonious. While we were having a pleasant date, Lu Ruyan kept bombarding me with phone calls. Reluctantly, I answered her call. She said she wanted to introduce a high-quality blind date to me, and the person was actually a college student. Naturally, I didn't believe she could be so kind-hearted. Out of curiosity to see what would happen, I agreed to meet him. To my surprise, that person turned out to be her husband from her previous life. I really didn't know how she had managed to persuade him to go on a blind date with a factory girl like me. After all, my so-called brother-in-law had decent features and was a college student. He shouldn't have had trouble finding a girlfriend. As soon as he saw me, his eyes revealed a look of amazement. I knew he was quite satisfied with me. When we first met in my previous life, I had already noticed the way he looked at me. However, what he said truly proved that he had difficulty finding a suitable partner. He said, "You don't need a betrothal gift, and you're willing to have children until you give birth to a son. I'm not old enough to get a marriage certificate legally yet, but we can hold a wedding first. When you have a child and I turn 22, we can go and get the certificate. What do you think?" Listening to his elaborate plan, I found it utterly ridiculous. I told him I didn't think it was a good idea. He turned red with anger, seemingly not expecting such a response. I looked at him with great interest. I know you're a sophomore this year. I want to know how my sister persuaded you to come and meet me. His face turned even redder, and his eyes darted around nervously. To be honest with you, I'm here just out of curiosity. But now I probably have guessed what happened. He stammered and told me the whole story, just as I had expected. After that, he never showed up in front of me again. I knew Lu Ruyan wanted him to influence me, but he wasn't a capable person. After I threatened him a bit, he fled in a hurry. I didn't know if he still had contact with Lu Ruyan. All I knew was that Lu Ruyan had been fired. Luo Chung was a very busy person, and rarely went to his parents' factory. He had his own business. But Lu Ruyan was persistent. Every time Luo Chung appeared, she would come over as if she could smell him. In the 2 years that followed, Luo Chung was so annoyed by her that he went to the factory less and less often. She was so anxious that she made frequent mistakes at work, and the factory couldn't keep her any longer. After being dismissed, she neither went home nor looked for a new job. Instead, she just lingered around the factory every day, staring at the passing vehicles. I felt very uneasy. After all, in her previous life, she had harmed me out of jealousy. To completely eliminate this potential threat, either I had to disappear or she had to. Unexpectedly, the opportunity came soon. My mother called both my sister and me back home on the pretext of being seriously ill. I hadn't seen them for several years, and they looked much older. Their son was very disobedient, and was like a little tyrant. When my mother saw us coming back, her tired eyes lit up. But when I saw several men sitting in the house, I immediately guessed what was going on. My parents intended to cash in on us. My sister and I were their savings. And in our village, both my sister and I were among the most beautiful. My mother looked at me, her face full of wrinkles. Mom has introduced several potential partners to you. Take a look and make a decision quickly. You're not young anymore. I immediately refused. I have a boyfriend. Lu Ruyan also showed a look of disgust, and glanced at the men in the room. Just considering their appearance, some of them were out of shape, and some even had hair loss. I have a boyfriend too, Lu Ruyan quickly said. I looked at her in surprise. Had she given up on Luo Cheng? My mother then said, then how much can his family offer? If it's less than what our family can get, then break up with him. Your younger brother is growing up, and will soon go to primary school. It will cost a lot of money. I sneered. Now it's compulsory education. How much can it cost to go to primary school? What do you know? The competition is fierce now. Your brother has to go to an international school, so that he can have a bright future. I looked around the shabby house. With their current conditions, how could they even think of such a thing? I don't plan to ask for any of that money, even when I get married to Luo Chung. I'm not short of it, and I don't want them to get that money either. But I know they won't give up without getting some money. After thinking for a while, I said, I'll give 30,000 yuan. My mother was very dissatisfied. She said that the other family could offer 80,000 yuan, and asked me to break up with my boyfriend as soon as possible. Seeing this, Lu Ruyan raised her chin. My boyfriend said, he will give 500,000 yuan when we get married. As soon as she said this, the men waiting for the blind date in the room all turned their eyes towards her. Many of them gasped in surprise. I was also astonished. I made Shengdao there were so many wealthy fools in the world. In her previous life, Luo Chung was that fool. No matter what I said, he insisted on giving my family 500,000 yuan. He said it was just a small amount of money for him, and he didn't want me to argue with my family about it. He said that anything that could be solved with money was a trivial matter. When my mother heard about the 500,000 yuan, her face immediately turned flattering. I don't know how she managed to act like that. She affectionately pulled my sister over and kept asking questions. When she got excited, she asked Lu Ruyan to call her boyfriend over right away to finalize the matter on the spot. However, I noticed that Lu Ruyan's expression was very strange. Logically speaking, since she knew my partner's offer was less than hers, she should have been eager to bring her boyfriend back to show off. But she kept making excuses. I always felt that something was wrong. However, since she had found a wealthy man who was willing to spend money on her, I felt relieved. Now she shouldn't harm me out of jealousy anymore, and she should shift her attention away from Luo Chung and me. Thinking of this, I felt much more relaxed. Since my sister can get 500,000 yuan, Mom, you can let these men go home. The way they look at us is too intense, and it makes me feel uncomfortable all over. Even if your sister can get 500,000 yuan, your boyfriend only offers you 30,000 yuan. That's too little. Mom, don't try to get money from me. Aren't you afraid that the villagers will say you're selling your daughter? And then your son will also be looked down upon. When it came to my younger brother, my mother finally didn't say anything more. 500,000 yuan was indeed a huge sum of money, and she now just wanted Lu Ruyan to finalize her marriage as soon as possible. I didn't say anything more. I transferred 30,000 yuan to my family, and said that my wedding would be held in another city. My parents didn't want to spend the money on travel expenses, and directly said they wouldn't attend my wedding. They had no interest in getting to know a family that could only offer 30,000 yuan. However, soon a problem that troubled my father-in-law emerged. He said that Lu Ruyan always went to the gate of his factory, insisting on seeing Luo Chung. Is your sister a bit crazy? I told them to ignore her. If it really doesn't work, call the police. Before the problem with Lu Ruyan was solved, my parents actually came to Yangcheng, worried about being discovered by them. I had been avoiding them for several days. They, together with Zhao Lu, blocked the gate of the factory, shouting that the factory director should be responsible. My daughter is with your son. We agreed on 500,000 yuan, but now you refuse to admit it. If you don't admit it, I'll go to the police station and sue you. My mother shouted at the top of her voice, ignoring the pointing fingers of the people around. The people coming and going were all factory employees, and many of them knew Lu Rian. Once, many people had laughed at her for having delusions of grandeur. Everyone knew about Lu Rian's situation. She had tried to flirt with the factory director's son but failed, and was even fired. Now she was going crazy, and had even brought her family members here. Someone who disliked Lu Rian taunted, "Auntie, our factory director's son graduated from abroad. How could he be interested in your daughter, who has no education and no ability?" When my mother heard this, she gave that person an unhappy look. "You're just jealous that my daughter is beautiful. He promised to marry our Lulu. I have text messages." My mother held up her phone, desperately trying to prove it to the people around, and hoping to get more support. Many people couldn't help laughing. Our factory director's son is already married, and even gave us wedding candies. His partner is a college student from a key school. She's beautiful and can earn money. How could he possibly be interested in Lu Rian? I think you've probably been deceived. When Lu Rian heard this, her face turned pale. She rushed up to that person and grabbed his sleeve. How could this be? How could he be married to someone else? This can't be true. Amid the commotion, Luo Cheng walked out of the factory, accompanied by 2 security guards. "You said I would marry you." Luo Cheng was very good looking and exuded the aura of a wealthy person. As soon as my mother saw him, her eyes sparkled with greed. "Yes, son-in-law. We even talked on the phone before, and you sent me text messages, promising me that you would treat our Lulu well." She stepped forward and tried to grab Luo Cheng's arm. Luo Cheng frowned and took a step back. "I'm sorry. I don't know you, and I'm not familiar with her either." Luo Cheng pointed at Lu Rian with a look of great disgust. "She has harassed me several times in the factory, and was even fired because of that. As for the so-called text messages you mentioned, why don't you call the number now and see? I'm sure the person on the other end of the line isn't me." Luo Cheng explained calmly. My mother wanted to prove herself, and immediately dialed the number. The call was soon answered. By then, everyone knew what was going on. Lu Rian had paid someone to pretend to be Luo Cheng. But my mother still didn't give up. Looking at the factory behind her, and the people coming and going, she just couldn't bear to miss out on such a wealthy man as Luo Cheng. "But my daughter likes you. Look at her. She's beautiful. Marry her. We only need 300,000 yuan. 200,000 yuan is also okay." Luo Cheng was so angry that he laughed. "Auntie, I'm already married." My mother looked dejected. She wanted the money, but now she didn't know what to do. Lu Rian walked up to Luo Cheng in a daze, her eyes filled with Huiching tears. "Why did you marry someone else? You should have married me. Why are you treating me like this?" Luo Cheng looked at me helplessly. I was sitting in a car nearby, and couldn't help laughing. Lu Rian thought that as long as she took my place to work in the factory, and chose the path I had chosen in my previous life, her ending would be the same as mine in that life. She thought she could become a wealthy wife. How ridiculous the rich can be. Are you insane? I don't have the slightest interest in you. Stop trying to frame me. Why? In your previous life, you were clearly willing to marry him. Why don't you want to marry me in this life? You're a liar. Lu Rian stretched out her hands, attempting to strangle Luo Cheng's neck. The security guard immediately pinned her to the ground. As more and more onlookers gathered, my parents finally couldn't bear the humiliation, and dragged Lu Rian away. Later, I heard that Lu Rian got married. She married into a wealthy family in the village, and received a bride price of 200,000 yuan. Because of the previous incident regarding the 500,000 yuan, the family believed that Lu Rian must have some special qualities. After the marriage, the family treated Lu Rian quite well at first. However, Lu Rian always looked down on them and nitpicked constantly. As time went by, the members of the husband's family grew tired of her. That wasn't all. For some reason, Lu Rian neither went to work nor did any household chores. She just played cards and watched TV at home every day. After giving birth to a child, she even demanded to hire a nanny. In the village, no one ever hired a nanny. It was usually the mother-in-law who took care of the baby. She despised her mother-in-law and kept complaining that she married into the family to enjoy a good life. She threatened that if they couldn't provide her with a comfortable life, she would get a divorce and marry a wealthy boss instead. During the quarrels, my mother would always show the text messages claiming that a wealthy boss was willing to spend 500,000 yuan to marry Lu Rian. And each time, the husband's family was subdued by this. Finally, someone spread the news about Lu Rian pestering Luo Cheng in front of the factory, insisting that he marry her. The husband's family was completely enraged. It turned out that all this time, it was just her wishful thinking. In the end, the husband's family no longer indulged her, but she refused to get a divorce. However, the husband had lost all patience with her. Since Lu Rian didn't listen, the husband's family didn't tolerate her anymore. Later, for some unknown reason, Lu Rian seemed to have lost her mind. It was 10 years later when I returned to that place filled with painful memories. My younger brother had been imprisoned for hurting someone. Only my parents were left at home. They looked more than 10 years older than their peers. If they were just strange old people I saw online, I would definitely feel sorry for them. But they were my parents, the ones who had hurt me countless times, the ones who were extremely biased. All of this was their own doing. When they saw me come back, there was only hatred in their eyes. How dare you come back? Now your younger brother is in prison. Are you satisfied? Back then, When my younger brother got into trouble, a settlement fee of 1 million yuan was needed. I said I didn't have the money, and they told me to find a way to solve it. Only if I could appease the other family would their son be released. If your younger brother is imprisoned, his whole life will be ruined. Are you even human? You don't have the money when we ask you for it, and you refuse to do other things either. Is there anything more important than your younger brother? These were my parents. Sometimes I wondered if I was really their biological child. How could someone be so heartless? I'm only here to take one last look at you. I won't come back again in the future. Luo Cheng and I are going to explore the overseas market. In the future, they won't be able to find me. The reason they still have the energy to scold me now is that they don't have to worry about their meals every month. Once I leave, and they can't get the alimony, they won't have the mood to think about these things. After saying this, I left without looking back. Luo Cheng's car was parked at the entrance of the village. I didn't want my parents to know. When he saw me approaching, he quickly got out of the car. Honey, you're not happy again? I shook my head and forced a smile. No, I just feel that I can't understand their thoughts. What on earth do my parents want in their minds? I really can't figure it out. Just as we were about to get into the car, a disheveled woman suddenly rushed out from the nearby bushes. She asked in a crazy manner, "Why are you two together?" "She's my wife. Of course I'm with her." Luo Cheng put his arm around me and took a step back in disgust. "How is that possible? You said you didn't like a factory girl like me, but she's clearly also a factory girl. If you don't want to be with me, why are you with her?" Her eyes were bloodshot with excitement, and her hands were shaking uncontrollably. We quickly took a few more steps back. It was Lu Ruyan. Upon hearing this, Luo Cheng's expression was as if he had eaten something disgusting. "Your sister, why does she always think I should be with her? What's wrong with her?" Luo Cheng was very annoyed, but I couldn't tell her about our previous life. Leaving aside the fact that she's a factory girl or not, I simply don't like you. Your sister graduated from a prestigious university. Don't you know that she can earn tens of millions of yuan a year? Why do you think I would like someone like you who has no skills at all? No, it can't be true. How can this be? Lu Ruyan grabbed her head with both hands and roared desperately. It's impossible. She didn't even finish her second year of high school and went to work. She's just like me. You're lying to me. She tried to step forward and grab me, but a man came out and dragged her home. I sat in the car still in shock. Just now, I saw the same expression of hatred on Lu Ruyan's face as in my previous life. Fortunately, she would no longer be a part of my future. And fortunately, I still had him. The end.